Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Mother-in-Law Suite. This week, we got a very special episode to me. We got a homie, Sloan, here. The homie, I've known him since band. We were in band together. We've known each other since we were freshmen in high school, at least. I think I saw him a little bit, maybe in middle school. I don't remember, but at least freshmen, bro. He's been around for a while, but how's it going, Sloan? How you doing?
Pretty good. Like I said, I've definitely been in a better mindset than I have been recently, but I think I'm doing pretty good. I think
That's good.
I'm the best I have been in the last couple weeks.
Yeah. How was your day today, bro? What'd you do today?
It was good. I woke up and I was a little like aimless, and I kind of wanted to be productive, but I didn't know like what I wanted to do. So I just I made some food in the morning, and then I went like took a shower and just tried to like clean my whole room and stuff like that. And then I went and I just sat outside and just read and like took notes on this book. And pretty much did that for like most of the day. And then came here after.
Oh yeah. What book are you reading?
It's called The One Thing. It's by I think Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
Yeah.
It's basically about removing things from your life and essentially defining what is most important to you and what will most effectively move you towards your goals. One of the things that he talks about is essentially people think that they can multitask, and people think that they can develop themselves in multiple ways in multiple areas, but really like you end up, the mind is a finite resource. So what happens is, instead of giving your full attention to that progress or this progress in this area, you end up just giving half your brain to each of those areas, and you end up just ineffectively developing yourself. So
it's kind of like, I think an analogy for that would be like, it's the same kind of thing with like speakers in a car. So if you let's say you have you're playing music off of your phone via Bluetooth, right? If your phone's turned at half volume, that means the transmission the Bluetooth receiver is getting from your car to send to your speakers, the speaker system in your car is only receiving half of the information available. So if you turn the information all the way up on your phone, so basically since your mind isn't allocating all of its space to that one thing,
it ends up being less effective in each of those
bottlenecked.
areas.
It's bottlenecked.
Yeah, and honestly, that's been my experience
because
like since I was a kid, I used to always try to develop myself in every possible area that I could. I wanted to be like really smart and successful in school, but then I also wanted to be funny and pleasant to be around and stuff like that. And I just always thought I needed to be great in every area of my life. And I feel even though that did motivate me and drive me to think about the right things, it didn't necessarily make me any more capable of actually manifesting them. And I feel when I was spreading myself extremely thin, I ended up just failing in all of the areas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I really had to figure out how to focus on one thing at a time, and fix that problem, then move on. Fix that, move on.
Yeah, I'm trying to notice different mindsets and things. I've been struggling a lot with task initiation. Task initiation is a huge thing that I think my entire household kind of struggles with.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gotten to a point to where it's it's becoming an issue with amongst all of us. So I'm trying to get to a point to where I'm getting us to recognize it, and things are getting done. My dad, I don't know. I said something about it the other day, and my dad was like, "You're right."
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, my family kind of relates to that as well, but just in different ways. My family has struggled with addiction and inaction and just different areas that you could be better in. And you know some it's kind of hard to get people once people have seen the problem and they acknowledge that it's a problem. That's one step, but that doesn't really move you any closer to solving it. Uh, in the sense of you're not actually taking the step by being aware of it. So, how I like relate that to my own life is, I want to uh, you know stop playing as much games, and
Yeah.
I want to like be more consistent with my exercise and with like my work hours and stuff like that. I want to work the same amount of time basically every single day, at the same time, hopefully.
Yeah.
And like, but the hardest part about that is just like doing it once. You know what I'm saying? Like doing it the very first time. It's like when you haven't gone to the gym for many months and then you do it the first time and it's like really difficult and it sucks, and then you do it the second time and it's slightly less difficult because you just did it right before that and you kind of know what to expect, and then slowly, it stops becoming difficult at all. But really, like, the task requires the most discipline at the start of actually doing it, and then once you've gotten into it a little bit, it doesn't require nearly as much effort to maintain. You just have to basically do the work up front, put the discipline in just to make the task a habit, and then once it's a habit, it's easier to be consistent. It's easier to maintain than it is to break it.
Yeah. Yeah. The way that I kind of s- see like allocating like things like that, you know, so inherently you said games are bad, like, or not, games are bad, you said like you want to focus, you want to change your perspective from focusing
Change
on
my
games and stuff
habits.
like that to habits, to focus on exercise more so over than gaming and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Are you trying to remove like gaming and things like completely out of your life, or are you just trying to make it take up less time?
I mean, so like my first thought was, oh, I won't remove them at all. What I'll do is I'll just like add in the good habits and then I won't subtract my bad habits, and I'll see how that goes.
Well, what
And
makes it inherently bad is my question. What
I,
makes a
I only
habit
say I only
inherently
say
bad?
bad in the sense of it's not really moving me towards something that's meaningful in the long term. So
Okay.
so a bad habit would be something that gratifies me in the moment, but doesn't necessarily fulfill me in the grand scheme. Like if I look back at my life, I'm no happier today because I did those things in the past.
Well,
Versus
yeah, no.
there are things that are good habits that do produce a long-term sense of gratification. Looking back, I am happy that I made those choices, but at the same time, they also deliver that sense of gratification at a later date than those shorter term senses of
Yeah, but you still have to have
sources.
a balance between the micro and the macro sense of happiness, you know? If all of your happiness is going to be a payout later on in date, you got to have some happening up front. You got to take for like take in consideration like why you like things in the first place, because like I've been like struggling with the fact that I like games, you know? I'm 23 years old. I was like told like, "Oh, you won't play video games all your life or whatever." But the thing is like video games make me happy, and it's fun, I think it's fun. And if it's
Do they make
if
you
it's kind of,
happy? Do they make you happy in the moment? Like, are you
yeah, it's
interested?
definitely in the moment, but my point being is like that's just one part of my of my life,
Yeah,
like I just because like my video games make me happy doesn't mean my car doesn't make me happy too.
yeah. Me,
Just
like,
because like, or food. My point, my argument here, my not necessarily argument, but my point being is like I feel like look and try to address uh, like habits versus hobbies, and benefit versus negative, because like, if, like I said, if all of your payout for happiness is going to be at a later date at a micro, like, sure, you can get happiness from the fact that things are going to be good later on, but if you don't have any like minor areas of satisfaction, it's going to be hard to get going, and you'll get into this like negative mindset because you won't have these little kind of dopamine hits to kind of keep you going.
yeah, maybe so, but like in a way, the only reason I need little dopamine hits to keep going is because my brain is currently wired for instant gratification. I want to do the work and see the result immediately, and that's what like short-term sense sources of gratification, like video games, like smoking, like sugar, like any hedonistic kind of activity. That's what they do. yes, you get the gratification very quickly, but you know it doesn't last very long either. And
No, it doesn't.
yeah, and that's why me personally, I'm trying to remove them from my life, is because I want to be doing things with my time that maybe don't give me much gratification in the moment, but produce a deep, lasting sense of gratification once I actually manifest and achieve those goals. But you know that's just me. Like I don't.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand the goal, but what I'm saying is why reach for something so small as in one or the other, a gratification in the moment versus a
Okay.
gratification overall. I'm saying reach for both. Reach for
So
gratification in both balance.
I know exactly, and this is kind of the way I started this. But I tried to like not subtract those things from my life, and I tried to just add the good habits into my life, like waking up early, like eating healthy, like going to the gym in the morning, like working throughout the day. You know, working from like 8 a.m. to like 4 p.m. or whatever, just trying to
Hmm.
make sure I get in like 8 hours of work or something of like actual productive stuff. But you know, without removing you know, smoking or playing games or you know, even like sugar for me, I was always like distracted from doing those things. And like I think I probably did this 100 times where like I was like, oh, I want to do this tomorrow. I'm gonna wake up early and I'm gonna go do this, and then I would stay up late and I would play games and I would smoke weed, and then I would wake up late in the afternoon and I'd be like, well, I missed that. I guess I just don't have to do anything on my list again. So like I really tried to do what you're saying, like not remove those things from my life and still try to progress. And just me personally, like I couldn't do it. Like you know, those things weren't just like like I realized that those things were stopping me from doing those other tasks and stuff like that, you know,
Yeah, it's an
in very
yeah.
practical ways.
I can understand that, and in the time in the present moment, you know, like it makes sense to kind of remove the things that are preventing you from growing. If there's something posing an issue, remove it from your life.
Yeah.
But further down the road, if what I'm saying is like if you are removing these things and you're allocating them personally, like if you're removing them in your mind from the categorization from habit or hobby to categorization bad, and you're trying to not do it anymore. Um, Eventually you're gonna have to have something in those categories later on, or else you're gonna run out of fuel.
Yeah,
You
so
know, to
I'm
keep
trying to
you're trying to
replace
replace that.
those with longer lasting senses of gratification that maybe don't instantly gratify you in the moment, but they'll produce it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is I feel like you have a gratification. You already have that sense of gratification that you're working for that, right? You know you're going to be working towards these overarching goals, these things that you see so far into the future, right?
Yeah.
We you know every you already like have put your mindset, your mental mindset to allocate your actions coming forth from here to then to make choices in support of that goal. You know what I'm saying? Like you already are like making choices to support that goal, to reach that goal, right? So you don't have to.
Sometimes, I mean, I feel like whenever I'm more reliant on those like different hedonistic activities in my life, I don't really allocate the effort. I'll put more effort into things that don't really, you know, that maybe self-soothe me in the moment and make me less like anxious, maybe give me a little bit of joy, but they don't really do that for me in the future. Like I gave the example, I'm no happier today because I played video games last week. You know what I'm saying? That affects me zero. That just made that moment better. But am I happier today because I worked on building a business or I worked on, you know, working out and stuff like that? Like doing that stuff is not as fun as playing games and stuff like that in the moment.
Yeah,
But,
no, it isn't.
in the long term, it is more gratifying, and that's the type of
Oh,
like that's
absolutely,
kind of like
yeah.
the way I'm trying
But
to rewire.
honestly, the best days for me, bro, was whenever I went to like work and I would come home. I worked like whenever I worked my production jobs for 2 years. Whenever I would work a full day, I would get payday and then I would come home and I would play a game that was the best day of the week. Not because I had the weekend on the whatever, because I got a sense of gratification for doing my work
And
all week
did it
long, and
stop
then I
you?
get a payoff after weekend,
Did it stop you
after
from
on the
doing anything
weekend.
else that you wanted to do?
Mm-mm,
So
not in the
that's how
moment,
we're
no.
different. That's how we're different. Is that it did stop me. They
Yeah,
did take
but that
my attention, and they did make me subvert my own desires in
But what I'm
a
saying is
period of
like
short
whenever
time.
whenever you come home, like sure you said like yeah, I'm going out and getting all this stuff done. Whenever you get home, what are you doing? Are
Um,
you going to sleep? Are you just done? Is that your full day is going
I like
out and
to read. I like to write and like introspect.
so those are so those are the hobbies.
Yeah,
Okay. So that
I'm
is
not
the
just completely
that is
removing.
okay, that's what I was asking. I was trying to find the insight as what you were trying to what you were replacing the short kind of the
I,
short term satisfaction with, and that would be reading a book. That's a source of like of short term satisfaction. It can help you benefit later on, but it's a sort of intake
yeah,
for entertainment. That's what I was trying to look for. Is like I was thinking like if you aren't playing games, if you
I
aren't
live
watching
like a very
TV,
monk-like lifestyle, no stimulation. But
yeah, I was confused.
honestly,
Yeah,
I think
that's
there
my
is
bad.
wisdom in that. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
mean, there is.
because in essence, like by focusing on things that like maybe aren't as immediately gratifying, like it's the difference between reading a book or playing a game. Like reading a book is not as fun as like playing games with your friends, but I am actually happier today that I read that book than I am that I played games with my friends. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the difference, is that yes, it's not as fun in the moment, but as I adjust myself and I stop like turning to all those very instant gratification type things, I no longer need that. Like, you know,
Yeah.
now, I've been trying to stop smoking and stuff like that. And I feel like in the past, every time I sat down to eat or, chill with my friends, I had like the inclination to smoke and to be like massively gratified by that. But now that I've been turning away from that and I've been turning away from all those different habits, I feel fine. I now don't. I now am not lacking any sense of satisfaction. I feel fine. Like I
Well,
that's
that's
kind of
that. That's phenomenal.
yeah,
And that ultimately it's just for you. I mean,
yeah,
that was my question because to reach that sense of satisfaction, one must find usual balance. And to me, I couldn't figure out where on the scale that balance was achieved. And whenever you reminded me that you were reading the books and stuff, I could see how the balance could have equaled out. And you're speaking of your philosophy, and I haven't really talked about mine, and I'm questioning you, and it's probably not fair because you don't know the perspective of where I'm coming from, and it's kind of hard um
yeah.
to just kind of
You don't necessarily
give
have
you
to
my
agree
whole
with me to
thing.
understand my perspective.
No, I absolutely do, and that's why I'm trying to ask you so much is because I'm trying to fully understand it. It's not because I'm like challenging you because I think there's a fault in your mindset. It's because I'm not
Yeah, I think that's just
gaining
like
the insight I
the energy it
decide.
can feel a little bit. Is that it's a, you almost take on an adversarial, uh, like, and that can help, like that perspective, to have someone that really digs and questions you, because that makes you question things that like you haven't thought about yourself.
Well, I mean, yeah,
So
and
I do
I
appreciate that.
sometimes I'm going to be honest. I sometimes, yeah, I do kind of like get into that kind of tone, not necessarily tone, but I do kind of get into that thing, and it's like you said, it kind of makes you kind of dig in yourself.
Yeah. So like I
I
do
know the power. I
appreciate that.
kind of
But at
yeah,
the same
thank you.
time,
Yeah,
it's just got to be like it's got to be more from the sense of like I'm trying to understand, not like I'm trying to teach. You're not trying to.
yeah, that's why I told you afterwards.
Yeah,
Sometimes I won't get the same answer if I tell you beforehand.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah. I get,
But
I get what you're saying.
as a journalism major, I'm sure like you gotta kind of get information out sometimes one way or another
Yeah,
from people. I mean, like you know, modern day journalists, if you consider like Andrew Callahan one, um, like he kind of puts people in the moment.
yeah. He asked
So
good questions, which I think is like the one of the most important roles of a journalist. Is like they don't just ask questions that people might find like, ooh, what's controversial, like what would people like to know. But a good journalist asks the questions that people need to know, like what does this person have to offer, what value
mhm.
in their perspective can they contribute to society.
Yeah, it's really neat. I really enjoy it. I mean, my thing is like I see people. I'm friends with a bunch of people, and I'm friends with a bunch of different types of people too. As you can kind of see on this podcast, at least the audience. every episode's a bit different. Every episode with each person will talk about different topics. I might be a bit different. The person I'm talking to might be a bit different, you know, but I'm still friends with every single one of these people that's been on this podcast, you know, and with me having such a diversified pool of friends, not necessarily as in like race or ethnicity, but just mindsets and ideals and perspectives and everything like that. It allows me to kind of get insights and kind of get these views and gauges on some of my other friends that don't necessarily have these an outsource or an insight on these perspectives or something, so I
Yeah.
can kind of take it on myself to kind of help people out, like I don't want to say like therapy, but like people always opened up to me ever since I was like a person. And I've kind of like, if I can like, if someone's in a room, I can kind of always get a vibe from them, like no matter what it is, like what's on their mind. I don't want to say like I'm an empath, but like
Yeah. I mean,
in an instance, like I can kind of pick up on emotions intensities. And I find it often or not, I can usually find it and find
yeah, I'm
like
definitely
find what's
similar. Not that
tense.
I can necessarily like read exactly what's on people's mind and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but without them telling me. But in the sense that like, in times of like struggle or adversity, particularly within my family, I've had to be like in a way the person who's asking questions to make them understand themselves. Like I've
Hmm.
had to be like that therapist role. You're not trying to teach
Yeah.
them anything. You're just trying to
That
make them
I'm kind of the
make them
same way,
understand
bro.
themselves.
The same way in my family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, and obviously, like I've taken a lot of value out of that, like fulfillment. Like I feel very fulfilled by being that role. But at the same time, it comes at a cost. Sometimes people can not see that I'm struggling because they can't see out of their own struggle, and that was honestly my experience a lot growing up. I had to learn to be very independent because uh, people in my family were having way bigger struggles than mine, so mine paled in comparison, and I just had to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, bro.
I like the way it's molded me. I'm glad that I'm
I mean,
independent. I'm glad that I'm like I have a therapeutic I can have a
well,
therapeutic energy, like that kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, the way, I mean, you've made yourself malleable. You made yourself susceptible to change. You've been able to change yourself and your mindset to what is in the moment, what you need to become. Um, because I mean, like throughout high school, throughout now, from an outsider's perspective, I've seen you change multiple times. You know,
Really?
like as
That's
a person.
in what way? Because that's really interesting for me to hear.
I mean, as you've seen yourself, you've changed perspectively. You're like, I'm sure, like you said, like you're getting rid of your old habits now, and you know, as you were, and now you're moving up. I mean, I felt like whenever you left your house and you moved in with uh Long and Parker, that was a huge milestone. I feel like that was a big thing for you. That was that was like that era's instance of this of your movement now of cutting old bad habits or something.
Yeah,
You
and I'm like
know,
always like in a constant state of doing that, and I honestly,
you're in a state of like, so yeah, of self whatever, of self improvement. But
yeah,
like I'm saying, like you're kind of refining yourself is what I'm saying. Like you've
yeah,
changed,
ideally.
but you it's a refining, a refinement. And I think it's really it's interesting. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, that's interesting for me to hear because, knowing my own experience, I know that I haven't always been changing for the better. Obviously, there are some ways in which I improved in myself, like especially with like my social relationships and stuff like that. I used to like be okay with being an asshole, like because I thought that was like what people expected of me. Like I'm just funny and like kind of a dick. But as I grew up, I realized like it's not always like that doesn't always make me close to people. That just makes people kind of, you know, think I'm funny, but that doesn't mean they like me as a person.
Yeah,
And that was like something that I realized I wanted to change, but and that was a positive change. But there are other ways in which maybe I fell more prey to my addictions over time, and like stuff that you don't know about. When I was out living with Long and Parker, like you mentioned, is like I probably had like my lowest point with addiction, my least capable of addressing it and of dealing with it. So it is interesting to see like how people see me and like
but the thing is you said the way that I look at it, bro, is like even though like those times were still like bad, I feel like you are still progressing in your life. I mean, you are still in school, you were learning.
Yeah.
The way that I look at life is like, sure, you can try to strive for the best that it can be, right? But things don't always have to be good, and things don't always have to be bad. Like, they can be okay or just mediocre. I think I feel like a big thing for me is like contentment, a source for contentment. We kind of search to look for a sense of just gratification. And the thing is I feel like that's a powerful tool if we can find it and allocate it in the aspect of
Right
self,
things.
and the right things. So
You can
if we
find
can
it in
find
very low places. You can find it in the pits
that,
of addiction, as I've experienced. You
yeah,
can also
exactly.
find gratification in, you know,
But the thing is,
things.
you can beat yourself up for saying it was the pit of addiction, but look at the time of what you were doing, right? You're going to school, and going to school like that was a really, really hard time. That was the only source. It was a source of short term gratification during this term of long term, like stress. This you have to realize there's benefits and there's negatives to life, and there's always going to be, there's like, if I push back on the wall's pushing back on me. If I push back on life is pushing back on me, right? So I feel like whenever you sure, if you were giving into your addiction, you're at your lowest point. Addiction, regardless of the term, it's a heavy time, but I don't want you to weigh it too heavy on yourself and
Yeah.
kind of change your mindset and view your mindset negatively, view yourself negatively for
No,
that.
no.
Because if that's your only coping way of dealing with the stress of school over that amount of time, then have at it. That's just a bad era, but you know what, you got through school. Now you can progress with your life and reach that overarching macro goal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know from like my experience, and I don't say this to like, be a detriment or like, try to like have more negative self dialogue about my past or
Oh
anything.
yeah, no, you're
But
good, bro.
but
Keep going.
you know, I know that during that period in my life, which other people don't know this, is that like there are ways in which I fell short of my own expectations,
Mm-hmm.
of the quality of work that I wanted to make and then the quantity of work that I wanted to make. And I attribute that largely to my negative patterns, my negative thoughts, the stuff that like trap me in short term gratification. Like for example, you know, writing an article or interviewing people or going out and doing that kind of stuff. I mean, yes, I do get a little bit. I do enjoy writing. I do enjoy interviewing people. So I obviously, because I wouldn't have picked that path, but it is similar to all the other stuff. Like it's similar to working out in that it's not as fun as partying and doing drugs, or it's not as fun as playing games and wasting time. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm happier that I did it. So I am, I do know that yes, while I was like maybe declining in some areas, I was still progressing in others. But I know inside that I could have reached even higher heights if I would have been less attached to my negative habits and toxic patterns. And I feel like that's why it's almost like my life's mission, like my core driver is to like remove these things from my life, because I know that I want to reach really high heights. I want to make amazing work, and I want to you know make a lot of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
And that's just like why I'm so like in a way subtractive with these things. Like, oh, this needs to go. This needs to go. I'm just essentially trying to remove what doesn't really matter to me that much. You know?
Yeah, you're very I'd said vigilant before, but I don't think vigilant is necessarily the word. I mean, like, you're a go-getter. I mean, you kind of run at things, and you like I said earlier, you kind of want to just seize the day. I for to give you a point of reference, I'm more of like, so like, there's no negative connotation when I say this
No.
at all. I think you're an overachiever. I think you achieve too highly. That's not a bad thing at all. People can be overachievers and accomplish great, phenomenal things. We need overachievers in societies.
Yep.
I'm just an achiever. I like, my goal is to just like reach that happiness level. But I think our long-term goals are a bit different. My long-term goals is more centrified around me having available time, me living like being comfortable, being like able to kind of like I need availability later on in my life. I need to be able to be available for my family and things like that. So I need to pursue a passion that not only makes sure my mindset is that of available for emotional connection with a family, right?
Yeah.
Number two, it needs to give me enough time while I'm working to spend time with my family.
Yeah, and honestly,
You
that,
know,
that
under
stuff that stuff does drive me. I mean, the reason why I want to like start a business and thrive financially, like make tons of money, is because I know that if I don't do this, like, and this is a little bit opening up a lot, but like I know that if I don't, like my mom and my stepdad will retire in a very you know, they won't have much money. You know
yeah,
what I'm
it's
saying?
yeah, and I'm in a very similar state. I
Yeah,
understand
I want to
completely.
make
Like
money so I can have personal freedom and I can do whatever I want with my life and whatever I want with my time. I'm not a slave to some job, but I also want that for like my family, and those are just kind of what drives me to be an overachiever. And it's honestly kind of interesting to hear you describe me as an overachiever because obviously I know
like I said,
myself.
literally no negative connotation
Yeah,
by
no,
that. Like I
no,
said,
no,
I take admiration by that.
yeah.
Like I admire you for being an overachiever.
But
You do things that
but
I can't do.
I wouldn't say I would not define myself as that. And honestly, the way that I see myself and the way that I have seen myself, maybe this is what I'm trying to change about myself, but I've seen myself as undisciplined, as like a slave to my impulses. You know, I've seen myself as not very persistent. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
that's what I'm trying to say. I feel like that's like kind of like an underlying thing of like what I might be like. I don't know. Maybe I think like maybe or do you think you critique yourself too much? Because if I mean if I'm viewing you as this overachiever, if I'm viewing you on this platter that you're achieving these great goals or something, I mean
Externally.
externally from an external point of view from looking at you, like does it? I mean, does that? What do you think about that? I mean, like you said,
It's
that's
just like I
interesting that
know
I think
myself
about that.
better.
Like,
I know myself better than people outside of me know. So like, yes,
I
while
mean, yeah, I understand that.
probably in comparison to like some of our friends and just some of our like immediate people, I seem like an overachiever. But I know from people like that I've met out in Orlando, especially journalism students that go to UCF, they are insane, bro. They have like the like biggest grind set I've ever seen, bro. Like they have no limits to how long they can work and how hard they can work, how much focus, and I didn't necessarily like look down at myself for not being that, but I looked up to them for being that. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
and
I don't want you to turn. I don't want you to be a slave to yourself. Looking for people to kind of keep the grind forward. I don't want you to feel bad if you don't keep progressing forward from like other like. Does that make sense? So
maybe,
so so
but,
so
but
so
me,
so, so the way.
I don't agree. I think in a way, I deserve to feel bad for like not living up to my own expectations. And I don't mean like precisely like I have to meet every single one of my demands that I expect for myself, but
Well, yeah,
in
it's
general,
good to hold yourself accountable
yeah,
for sure, absolutely.
I just hold myself to
But
a high standard.
I don't feel like you should punish yourself either. Like there's things. I mean, no, I mean, but punish yourself. I say lightly. Like
I don't feel like I do that. You know what I'm saying?
you don't.
No, not really.
Okay,
I
okay.
mean, like I think most of the time I do like as much as I can to help myself. Like
Maybe I mean I might be looking too far into it and might be getting a misrepresentation, and that might be all it is. And this is like behind layers of theory of like why we make decisions. You know, like
yeah, yeah,
we're so many layers deep that I might just be confused and misconceived about something, and my apologies if that's the case.
yeah, it's all good.
But
I don't think you're that far off. I think you are right that like to some degree I probably have like a more
critical
demanding,
opinion
yeah, a more
of
demanding
yourself, yeah.
self dialogue that tells me, "Oh, I need to be this. I need to work. I need to live up to this." Then I probably have more of a demanding self dialogue than most people that we know. But,
Okay.
at the same time as
I
that,
don't know, bro. You don't know. You don't know the inside of my head. My
well,
head's crazy.
okay, so at the same time as that plagues me in a way, like, oh yeah, it does suck, I guess, because I am more critical of myself. At the same time, that's the thing that like helps me and that like really
I
makes
think
me,
I
you know,
think that's why I relate to you
it's like
so
what I
much.
live
Is
for in a
because
way is
I
like,
think I
always like like finding my problem and trying to fix it, even if I'm not actually there yet.
I think that's might be. I think that might be why. I think that might be why. I think I just relate to you a lot. I think we just think process the same way, and like at least at least maybe I've processed like you've thought before. Maybe that might be it too.
I think a
I
lot
don't
of people
know.
go through
Either
the same
way,
shit that I do. Maybe I just go through it at like an increased rate. Like those thoughts people have,
well, that's the kind of
every.
thing that I'm kind of starting to realize is like people are kind of a big thing that I'm realizing is like we all kind of have the main character syndrome where we only are subject to ourselves for our entire life. That's all we have. That's the only exposure we have to consciousness, to life, to anything. So we kind of forget that other people have experiences and reflect emotions just as true and just as passionate as just as intense as ours.
Yep.
And it's really important to self check ourselves with that, because the moment you kind of self check ourselves with that, you start realizing people aren't as dumb
Yeah.
as like you think they are. People aren't as bad as they think they are. They're like decisions aren't made as hollow as they are sought to be. You know?
Yeah, and I kind of have like a clean way that like I wrap that up, like a mantra that I use. It's like, okay, yes, I have a negative self-dialogue that, maybe sometimes plagues me, but also sometimes helps me. So the question that I ask myself is, will I let this feeling crush me or will I let this feeling drive me? Because when that feeling crushes me that I'm not good enough, that I need to progress, then I sink deeper into negativity. I sink lower
Yeah.
into addiction. But when I let that drive me, I reach new heights that I didn't expect for myself. And that's why it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like I do see what you mean. It is somewhat negative, but at the same time, it really helps me. And it just depends on what I let that emotion do. Will
Yeah, you
I let
see
it
what I've
crush
been
me
what
or
I've
will I
been
let it
doing
drive
is I kind of view my thoughts as like like kind of like Tinder. I think I said this analogy before, but it's like if I like the thought, I'll swipe right. If I don't, I'll swipe left.
me?
Like, you know,
I mean,
kind of thing. I
and I,
mean,
like I
like
say, I don't always have control over like my thoughts. Sometimes like my brain is just
yeah.
sending me shit. It's whether or not I'll let this feeling drive me to be better, or I'll let it crush me and make
Well,
me.
you're the awareness behind your thoughts.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to believe that in order to like have that kind of disconnected like sense from your thoughts, where that you just see them coming and going, coming and going.
Hmm. Damn. Yeah, bro. Well, I mentioned that you were in band with me. So this next session or section is going to be pretty cool because you are also a music nerd. You like music a little bit,
Oh yeah.
just a little bit. No, you don't know. You don't like music at all.
I'm like
Yeah,
like
no, bro.
extremely passionate about rap music particularly, but,
Yeah.
but like
Hell yeah.
jazz more broadly. But rap music is like my whole
Hell
life
yeah.
in a way. I think I literally thought this today, and I guarantee you I think this like if not once, multiple times a week, and it's like music restores my will to live. Like I thought that this morning, I thought that last week. I think I've thought that every single week of my life since I got Apple Music, like legitimately.
Yeah. Ah, bro. I mean, music plays a big part of my life. I mean, it's definitely rejuvenating. It I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure we both played instruments since we were 6 years or not 6 years, but from sixth grade, like to our
Yeah,
senior year in
me
high
earlier.
school, and then
I was like,
you're earlier,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, my dad, like, he plays guitar and he plays piano, and like, he was
Oh
always
yeah.
trying to teach me that stuff ever since like I could remember, like, as early
I
as.
tried to learn guitar when I was pretty young, but I didn't do very good.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the same place I'm at. Like, I understand them very conceptually. I know exactly how they work, like how a
Yeah.
fretboard is laid out, how that compares to like how a piano is laid out. He
Hmm.
taught me certain things about it, like, oh yeah, you could see the keys of the piano on a fretboard, but they're all like skewed by like a certain amount of digits or whatever. Different things like that like I still retained, but I can't really say that like, oh, I can still play the guitar. You know what I'm saying? I just really like
Yeah.
understand them kind of intuitively because I was exposed to it a lot as a young.
Okay. Hell yeah, bro.
No.
Well, do you have any music recommendations?
I have a lot. I'd probably have to pull something up,
That's fine.
but
Pull them up. Talk about them while you're
want me
pulling them
to?
up. Yeah.
Mm.
We can't listen to it, but we can talk about them.
No, no, I understand.
You sent me
It'll inspire thought about these artists because I definitely have thoughts about them. Honestly, what I love about rap music is, there are a lot of like underground kind of, and what I would say, not very good rappers. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And I think that's a good thing, honestly. Like because every once in a while you find a rapper who's underground who doesn't have very much recognition but is has talent, is a really amazing
Yeah.
artist. And that's what I love about rap music, what I love about looking and just searching through different playlists that people make, and even
It's just the small amount of raw talent that you can find within
yeah,
like
because
the
every
individual
once in a while I
person.
find a song or I find an artist that just has absolutely no
Bro,
recognition, and
there
and it really, it inspires me. I'm like, this I want to tell all my friends about this person. This person's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there's this guy I met in like a Facebook group a long time ago, and he like has this band. It's called Avocado Haze. It's like this math rock band, and it was like super small when he first started it, and it like is starting to reach like a few thousand people. Like it's starting to like kind of catch up. It's pretty cool.
yeah,
Like
that's
I
like one of the things I love about music is, finding someone who like
finding like a
deserves more
yeah
recognition. You
a
know?
diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Bro, you sent me the what was his name?
Goya,
Gubani. Yeah, Goya Gubani.
yeah.
Yeah, tell me about him because I've listened to like two or three songs off that album. I haven't
I love
listened to the
that
full
dude.
album yet.
Honestly, so like here's my past with music. My dad, he would always like play for me like different like piano like jazz artists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like fucking just growing up, like probably the earliest music that I can remember was like jazz music, was like stuff that my dad was putting me on, and like even
hmm
blues and stuff like that, like Motown shit. And as I grew up, I realized that like my generation in general is not very keen on that stuff. But like the reason why I joined band back in the day, I didn't want to be in concert band. I only wanted to be in jazz band because I just genuinely love jazz music. And even when I got to high school, and I don't know how if you've heard this story, but uh, I only was in high school band because I wanted to be in the jazz band. And uh, when I started having a class setup that stopped me from being able to like be in jazz band, I literally just quit. I just was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna do this shit anymore because that's the only reason I'm in it. So like that is something that very important to me. And sometimes, like I said earlier, you find an artist that like captures an emotion and energy that like you remember, like oh yeah, this is that feeling that like this kind of jazz music gives you. And you find that in like rap artists and different genres and stuff like that. And talking specifically about Goya Gambani, he's like very like honestly impressive and important to me as as an underground artist. Like I don't think any of my other friends listen to him or anything like that, but he embodies like an energy that like I it's almost nostalgic to me, you know?
There's a few bands that like really kind of itch some spots that others can't for me. There's there's this band called God, what is their name? It's not Jizu. It is Yoko or Gyoko. So J Jyko. Oh, Jyocho. Sorry. There we go. Gyoko. I was right. I just didn't remember how to spell it. Um their album like it's all in Japanese, so I can't really pronounce the album names, but the album with like the green ball circle in the field, bro. All of their music, it kind of inspires this kind of like peace, kind of tranquility, but it also kind of gives this sense of like urgency and like um articulation. Like it's very articulate. It's not necessarily not musically, but as in like in the way in the way it like makes you feel whenever you're
Yeah.
listening to it.
I,
So it kind of gets you energized
That's
and
like one
kind
of
of
the
gets
things I
you.
really love about music too is that like sometimes music will really embody the emotion or the feeling that you're having, but other times it'll embody the emotion that you want to have and that you're not feeling. It'll like pose a stark contrast between how you feel and how you like to. And you know, I see that like a lot whenever I like go to the gym and it's the morning time and you know, I want to have more energy and I want to have more drive and I won't really put on like jazzy rap. I'll put on like kind of harder like just trappy shit and stuff like that. You know, because it's different from how I feel, because it changes the way I feel. And then other times there's like a certain wistful kind of like, you know, introspection, that kind of mindset that I'm in. And then, you know, jazzy type rap and stuff like that will more, you know, will just fit the way I'm feeling. It won't necessarily change the way I feel. But that's what
Yeah,
I love about it is that, you know, there are many purposes to it.
yeah, bro. There's another one, Yusuf Days. He's a I mentioned him a few times on the podcast. He's a um this underground London-based jazz drummer. The dude plays like it's insane. It's like drum and bass, but he's just playing the drums. The dude's sick. Um, and another one I've been listening to recently, Lewis Cole, bro. He's part of nowhere. He's pretty well known and like the higher up like music theorists. So like Jacob Collier kind of probably might know him about him. Like within that weird like kind of group of musicians, subcategory. But it's really cool. Here recently, I've been listening to a lot of Denzel's new album. I think that was really good. Um, I haven't really been listening to much rap. Like probably my favorite rap album is probably like um either Acid Rap or Section 80.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to say like my favorite. Like I have favorites, you know, but I don't really
Yeah,
have like an individual favorite. But I would say like albums like Acid Rap and yeah, like Kendrick stuff. Finding that early on in my music like journey, like when I got Apple Music, probably the first. Or I mean, I guess I didn't listen to Acid Rap on Apple Music because it wasn't out yet then. But I listened to it like on SoundCloud when I was like, you know, 12 years old. My brother like put me on, you know, like
yeah,
13 or whatever. Um, and you know, it kind of like taught me like what good rap music is. Like one of the first albums that I got when I got Apple Music was Damn by Kendrick. That was back in like 2017.
hmm.
And you know, that like almost set the bar for like what amazing rap music was. And then, you know, as I found more artists, I kind of had like this, you know, oh, you know, I don't like mumble rap kind of like rap puritan perspective. And then, you know, people like Brandon, Ileana, Brady, like all the people that we grew up with, they listened to totally different types of rap because they didn't grow up with the same kind of influences that I did. And it kind of made me more accepting to, you know, to not like hate mumble rap, to like enjoy fucking motherfuckers like Lil Pump or, you know, just people who seem like not very deep in their lyrics. Like
Yeah.
I got the value of it even when I didn't like as a younger person. I was more judgmental of it. Um, but like even though like those rappers like Chance the Rapper and Kendrick and J. Cole set the bar really high, you know, those experiences taught me like, oh yeah, you know, there is value in someone who isn't very good right now, but they have potential.
Well, that was something was happening earlier. Like Ileana wrote something earlier, and she was kind of rapping it for me that she wrote, and it was like there was a concept. It was like pretty. She said, I think it was like her words or something. Vernacular wasn't there. Like she said like,
Yeah, bro. I
I don't
freestyle
know.
in
She
my
just
car
said that there
all
was just
the time.
words.
Like
Yeah, she
literally,
said
like
that there was just
every other
words.
time I get in my car, I freestyle to like beats that I'm listening to.
See, I can't freestyle. I'll write poems. I wrote
I
one.
can't
I don't
freestyle
know.
that well either, but like sometimes, you know, after doing it like a million times, you'll like stumble upon like a topic that will be like extremely truthful. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not just trying to sound like a rapper. I'm saying something actually from like my heart. Like you know, this is truthful. And then once I like stumble upon that kind of like rap, then for the first time I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty good because I feel authentic. You know, I feel like, whoa, I'm saying some
yeah.
shit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote this poem like a few months ago, maybe like lyrics or something, bro. I can't see I can't come up with shit like super fast, like I can't freestyle. But if you give me like a pen and paper, I can write stuff down.
Yeah.
I said, we live in a world filled with people from the future crafted by the past, with the garbage truck looking for the next stop, coming up the street picking us up. Us, me, you, the people of this earth, trying to find a path. Roads are all I see when I look out the back of the truck, speeding to the next stop to drop us off, decomposing. We are decomposing, giving back to the truck, coming up from in the future from the past, giving the truck gas, looking for some ass to stop this temporary wait. I mean, non-dairy glass of milk to drink. This world got my stomach fucked up enough. Fucked up enough.
I think you just need
You
to work on
see,
the delivery, and then it'd be
yeah. I mean,
pretty all right. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
it's cheap.
that's not even done, bro. I
I'm
see.
just
You
playing.
see the. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, bro. I mean, the. I.
My stuff, like I actually like this is something I was like just like kind of like I guess rapping about, but it was like it was just like a couple lines and like there were just
Yeah.
lines that once I said them I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually that's true. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
fucking like trying to sound like a rapper. And like mine was like stuck inside my family's ways. I can't really explain it. Nights spent running from pain, just trying to get faded. You know,
Yeah.
wondering what I'm doing in this lifestyle that I created, you know, like and like once I say that, I'm like, dang, bro, I'm that's true. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and that's what I love about rap music too, is that, you know, you sometimes I'll find an artist and you know that what they're saying is their real experience, and even better, sometimes you have experienced similar things, you know.
Yeah.
They're articulating something that you never really put into words and they're doing it in a cool way.
Hell yeah, yeah, bro. That I feel like I kind of feel the same way about metal, but instead of the lyricism, it's more the music, like it's more of their the way they play their instruments or something.
Yeah.
Like
Me,
it's
I
the
don't
it's
know.
the
It's
atmosphere.
hard for me to like get into metal because like I feel like a lot of it has like a very like in a way angry like rageful like energy. And maybe that's just like my outside perspective as someone who doesn't really listen to it that much. But like just whenever I go from like my type of music that I listen to, like, you know, kind of like old school like lo-fi hip hop and stuff like that, and then I go to metal, it's like, you know, it's just it seems like an emotion that I can't that I rarely feel is like that.
I don't. Yeah, it's a bunch of energy. I don't know. Whenever I listen to metal, I don't really feel energetic. I just like I'm not gonna lie. Some of my best sleep I've gotten listening to metal. Like I think it's because it's like enough stuff to go on to kind of keep my mind satisfied while I like work on something. So like I'm not maybe so my mind's not bouncing around
Me, I
everywhere.
find
I
it
can like
distracting if I'm
I
working.
don't know.
Like I have to listen to like almost stuff. Like sometimes I can't even listen to rap music that I know the lyrics to because I'll be like kind of expecting like a certain line to come up.
Well,
So like I'll just put on some like playlist that's like some
well,
genre.
that's what I'm talking about. Is I feel like metal does that because I can't expect what's happening because it's just like noise. Does that
Yeah,
make sense? I don't know. It might be, maybe not. I don't know. But I mean, at the same time, I really just enjoy it as for what it is. But
I feel that. I don't think like I had that influenced into me like my dad. You know, he is into rock music and stuff like that, but you know he's
yeah,
not into metal or anything like that. He's more into like classic southern, or like even earlier forms like, you know, 60s like the Doors and, you know, like that kind
yeah,
of rock. You know,
yeah.
it's like a different kind of, we don't even see that as classic rock, but really they're the people that created the shit. Um, but yeah, so like, you know, I just don't think I had like that those kind of influences. And I never
I
gravitated.
mean, it was a bunch of my friends. It was a bunch of my friends that they got me in on it. I mean, it is I like I don't get me wrong, I like every other kind of music. I used to listen in middle school. I listened to like Monster Cat and EDM, and I still do to this day. I listen to a ton of Cohen Sound
I used to listen to that
and
too.
like just Monster Cat albums and whatnot. Music, just all of it. I mean, I listened to like a bunch of the Offsprings back in middle school, and like I listened to a bunch of like Irish metal, like or Irish jig music. Like I listened to like Irish folk music. I don't know why.
Not me.
Like, hey, bro, I don't. Don't ask me. I couldn't answer you, but it was fun. It was funny.
Yeah.
But all right, bro. I appreciate you coming on here, Sloan. Is there anything you want to plug? Do you want to plug something? If you want to plug a social media, if there's a topic you want to address before you leave, if there's anything you want to say,
No, I'm
anything
pretty
you
good.
want to do, the floor is
If you guys
yours.
want to follow me, my Instagram is Sloan Snyder, SLOAN SNYDER, Sloan Snyder. But other than that, yeah, I'm pretty good.
Oh yeah, bro. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was a very good podcast. This is a lot of like what I was really looking for this podcast to be kind of about. It's just kind of like us having some conversations, some deep conversations, and just trying to self progress. Just trying to
That's
move
always
forward.
the level I try to interact on.
You know.
I don't like to have like very very
I don't want a hollow conversation. Exactly. I want something sustainable to come from talking to me.
yep.
So, yeah, bro. Absolutely. Thank you. Something sustainable came from you.
Oh yeah.
I think we learned something. But yeah, no, bro. All right, audience. I guess that means it's time for you guys to get the fuck out of here. I don't want you here anymore. We don't abide by your laws. This is my house. This is my turf, and I'm saying get out. Well, but jokes aside, thanks for listening. I'll try to see you next week. So adios, arrivederci, sayonara, Avita Zen. What is Avita Derci? Whatever.
Okay.
Idi and Lahui, sayonara, adios, ciao. Is there any other ones I'm missing?
Peace.
Peace. There it is. There we go.